And welcome to Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. And before we get into it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. And please, make sure to leave a comment with your thoughts below and a little dash of constructive criticism, as all of that will help the channel grow and allow me to improve and produce better content for y'all. And on this episode, we're going to discuss Lizzo, abuser, fat shamer, part 2. Well, it seems as though the saga and the fall and rise of Lizzo has looks like it's wrapping up too. I think in terms of the new developments that are going on, I would pretty much say that this is it for Lizzo and her career in the music industry and her socialist Marxist political ideology campaign through music and social media. The other day, Jay-Z canceled a show which she was supposed to be headlining, and I put this in quotation marks due to technical difficulties. You have the recent concert of Beyonce where she on multiple occasions during a song did not sing Lizzo's name. And that happened the day that the whole story broke out about the sexual assault allegations, the abuse, the fat shaming, and more dancers are coming forward discussing how they were fat shamed as well. And I'm starting to suspect, and I was saying this in my previous episode, that I think that the behavior that Lizzo clearly has displayed in her private life of her musical works and personality, I think many people were already well aware of this, but because she is essentially the spokesperson for the Marxist body positivity movement, I should say more socialist, but she has become the patron saint and the spokesperson for an unhealthy lifestyle and trying to normalize said lifestyle. Being obese and being overweight is not beautiful. It is very unhealthy, and it can cause many, many, many issues. You can go online right now and you can go onto the CDC, whether you trust them or not. That's not, I'm not here for that. There are plenty of scientific journals and articles that you can write, and you can look at the top causes for death in America, and one of them is being obese, because if you are severely obese, increased chances of cancer, diabetes, a plethora of health problems, breathing. I shouldn't have to regurgitate this. I think many people are fully aware of the dangers and the consequences that come with being obese or severely overweight. The joint issues, the heart problems, heart disease, heart attacks, clogged arteries, all of that from being severely overweight. I mean, and with Lizzo, it has become romanticized, and with my 600 pound girlfriend or whatever that stuff on TLC, it's become a mockumentary. Being obese, we are at one point we're fascinated with obese people, but at the same time, we're celebrating them and advocating that they are extremely healthy and they can do anything that that the most athletic female athletes, they that overweight women can be just as athletic as Serena Williams. I mean, and I'm trying to speak civil here and respectfully, but we know that that is extremely asinine and foolish to think in such a manner. And the consequences of Lizzo advocating for such an unhealthy lifestyle, yet behind scenes she's demonizing and demoralizing and harassing her quote unquote, you know, big girl dancers and criticizing them if they get too big. I'm over here trying to understand the mental gymnastics. Is it like, I think Lizzo should be well aware that there are women out there that are far bigger than her. They may not have the platform that she has, but I don't know if, she needs to be, that in her mind, she has to be the center of attention, right? So the girls can't get any bigger than she is. I don't know. I can't. This whole thing is already makes no sense to me, and it's completely nonsensical, and it adds to you know the whole concept of this mental health crisis that we're living in, and people trying to find communities to be a part of to offset the insecurities and the loneliness and the confusion they have about themselves without actually doing the due diligence and doing a deep dive into oneself. And you don't really see Lizzo advocating for anything like that. I mean, I don't know how many listeners can recall when the 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 fat community, the body positivity community, got mad at her for losing a couple pounds. And it was funny. Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon were talking about it on the Rogan podcast. Tim Dillon was talking about it on his podcast about how she apologized for losing weight. I mean, think about that. How do you apologize for losing weight? And may I remind the listeners out there what happened with Adele. Remember Adele? Popular singer. When she came out overweight, obese, no one talked about her weight. It wasn't a thing. People were like, wow, look at this, beautiful woman with a beautiful voice, and she's killing it. And then she disappears, comes back, thin, still looking good, got herself a black man, and then people criticized her for losing weight. And she came out and be like, hey, don't come at me for taking care of myself. I'm not your spokesperson for that. That's not how I do things. And even she kind of came out and was like, no, what are we doing here? That's ridiculous. She did it because she knew that if she wanted to prolong her life and have the incredible singing career she still has, she had to make drastic changes in order to maintain her voice and her longevity. And, that's what she did. And she did the right, ethical, moral thing for herself. And people demonized her for it. But we celebrate Lizzo. We'll put overweight women on the front of, health magazines and say this is healthy. And I remember that yoga girl, that overweight yoga girl, and a guy did a video covering her and talking about like you know how much of an issue this is, and he even showed videos of her, doing her yoga videos, and she was she couldn't do yoga poses that I can do, that were basic. Like she could barely do, downward dog, certain different things. She could barely manage to do it, and you could hear the struggle in her breath. Uh, so for me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, you would actually get more benefits from yoga if you also added some cardio and cut your calories. Do some intermittent fasting. This isn't really. I'm not going to get into a big health spiel because I am not a health expert. But when I see these things, I look to myself and I really wonder, like, what are going to be the long term consequences for normalizing this body positivity ideology? And I don't know, because with the situation with Lizzo right now, and this, we're going to cover it in this article right now. I really don't think that there's going to be much left of a body positivity movement after this, because I think a lot of people, and whether you are ascribed to the right or any of that kind of stuff, I'm not trying to be like political, but like I get the sense that there are a lot of people who were looking at Lizzo and just waiting for her to slip up, and and mostly because they were sick and tired of this normalization of being unhealthy. And then you have this all this news come out about her, and people are like, perfect, good, that's a wrap. And I'm over here thinking, what about, these dancers? What about all the women out there who were convinced by Lizzo that, oh, I can be overweight, I can be unhealthy, and I can still be a dancer. I can still, do pole dancing. I can still do all these crazy, or normal things, relatively speaking, and I can still be unhealthy. I can wear very skimpy and revealing outfits and still be obese. And the reality of the situation is, listen, that's not a healthy lifestyle. And now, what are these women going to do who have looked up to Lizzo? These younger women, what are they going to do? You look at her Instagram. Her Instagram is no different than a BBW Instagram thoughts Instagram, or her BBW OnlyFans. I mean, there's no difference. Half of her Instagram is her naked or eating. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating, but we know that she does not eat a healthy diet. And the disrespecting that historical flu and being basically naked in a leotard. I mean, it's just, I look at all of that and I just think about the long term consequences that this is going to have, because you're going to have so many overweight, obese women who've looked up to her who are now going to become disillusioned by Lizzo. They're going to start questioning their own lifestyle. They're going to start questioning their own mentality. They're going to start questioning, well, she told me I could be like this, but she's out here fat shaming. She's sexually harassing her dancers. And and I was no surprise when about the whole sexual harassment stuff, because I'm like, look at the way she condones herself. I mean, she was on a basketball court in front of families and kids, husbands and wives, and she was twerking in a thong shirt. I mean, she has talked openly about her her affinity for her open sexuality. There's no surprise to that. We see that. We can tell. You don't make it not easy for us to see that. But here we are now with your behavior, and it turns out that you are the completely opposite of what you claim to be. And I'm over here like, why are people surprised? I'm still trying to figure out, Why are people still looking up to celebrities, to musicians, to artists? I mean, listen, there are people that I look up to as well, but I do not ignore or pretend that they don't have vices, that they also may not have a good past. I mean, one of the greatest people that I look up to is Miyamoto Musashi, who's one of the greatest samurais to have ever lived. And the man has killed many people. I mean, in one of his first earliest duels, he beat a man to death with a stick in a duel. And the strategy of how he was able to defeat that. And I mean, he smashed this man's skull in. So here's a man that I look up to who has created, a warrior's philosophy, the art of living, or I should say the art of walking alone. And yet he has killed, either in duels or in battles. So I'm not going to pretend as if though Miyamoto Musashi is absolved of any sin. I mean, killing in many ways is a sin, but he was a warrior, and I'm not going to dispel or ignore the fact that he was a warrior, but I'm not going to condone his lifestyle, because the lifestyle that he has lived allowed him to be the greatest samurai to have ever lived, and to create a philosophy that has allowed countless future samurais and regular people like myself to gravitate towards that philosophy and implement it into my own personal life. I mean, I'm a practicing Buddhist, but I'm not going to pretend as if, Buddhist communities in Malaysia and other areas have not committed atrocities. So my whole thing is, you want to look up to your heroes, fine, your celebrities, fine, go ahead. But I mean, I'd be careful with the celebrities, because we know, what they like to involve themselves in, and pedo stuff. We all know that's a pair. Look at, Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, Harvey Weinstein. Look at all that stuff. So, be careful of the people that you look up to, because, how crazy is it going to be when you find out the person you've been looking up to, like to touch kids? You're going to look mighty foolish. And, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to get across with this whole situation with Lizzo, is that, we are now being aware that she is not an authentic person. She's not an authentic individual. She doesn't live a authentic life. And she's not true to who she is. And she's misleading people, misleading a generation of people, misleading massive amounts of followers. So, I hope that people, out there, will kind of take some time to really reevaluate who they look up to, and what does it mean for them, and how do these individuals improve upon their own personal well-being and livelihood. And Lizzo is showing that she has no interest in improving the livelihoods of her followers, because she advocates for unhealthy lifestyle and a unhealthy and dangerous mindset and rhetoric. And now, she's going to cost these dancers, their careers, essentially. I don't know of any other touring, performing female artists who employ obese or overweight dancers. I don't know any others. If someone knows, please, leave it in the comments section. But I don't know of any. And I don't. So, what's going to happen for these, young ladies? I mean, what's going to happen for the young women who are currently, Lizzo's dancers? Are they going to leave? What about the people who are loyal to Lizzo, who are supporting her? Grimes is out there saying she supports Lizzo. But I mean, Grimes is a, neo-technocratic communist. So, I would take anything she says with an extra dose of salt. Because I can assure you, she practicing some occult stuff. I can't tell if she's a Luciferian or not, but she's definitely into some things. Do your research onto her. Look at some of her music videos prior to the pandemic, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But I digress. But let's get into this article and and discuss what appears to me one of the final nails in the coffin for Lizzo's career. All right. Exclusive. Lizzo has been dropped from Super Bowl halftime show considerations in the wake of dancers' shocking sexual harassment and abuse claims as her team frantically scrambles to save her sinking ship. All right. This article is from Daily Mail, written by James Vitsuka and Russ Weekland. All right. Lizzo has been dropped from the Super Bowl halftime consideration after facing a series of shocking sexual harassment and fat-shaming allegations from former dancers, leaving her team in a desperate scramble to save her sinking ship of a career. Earlier this month, the 35-year-old pop star who has marketed herself as a body positivity activist, and key word, marketed, right? We also have to keep in mind how people market themselves, and she marketed herself like that. You got to be careful with how you market yourself, because then you become the face of that market, and that can have extreme ramifications and consequences, as we're seeing right now. Found herself at the center of a sensational scandal when 3 of her former dancers, Crystal Williams, Noel Rodriguez, and Ariana Davis, filed a lawsuit against her, accusing Lizzo of creating a hostile work environment. Now, an NFL insider exclusively tells DailyMail.com that the ensuing backlash over the allegations has prompted the organization to immediately drop Lizzo from Super Bowl halftime show contention, having previously had her name in the mix as one of the front runners for the 2024 spectacle. Talks of Lizzo being part of the halftime festivals or performing the national anthem are dead now that she is surrounded by scandal, the source said in the wake of the accusations, which Lizzo vehemently denies. How are you going to have her sing the national anthem? I mean, this woman has blatantly, talked about how she doesn't like America. She doesn't value and appreciate the country that has given her this illustrious career. So I find that hilarious that they would have her sing the national anthem. And she would sing it, half naked. She'd wear some outfit like this, singing the national anthem. I don't even know how that's appropriate, but I'm not going to go into all that. So here are the three dancers. And this was
Bob Evans' new farm.
At the skepticism, just because of our general culture. It probably is that it is hard to believe that someone who has made part of their reputation on breaking barriers of fat shaming and body shaming would do that to anybody else. Why should the dancers be believed?
They should be believed because it's something that's their truth. That's something that may ring hollow to other people, but their experience is their experience. We've all had the saying said to us, you shouldn't meet your heroes. And unfortunately for my clients, that's what happened here.
Okay, but that's not enough. So the idea of they had their feelings hurt or they didn't like it. Lizzo says, no, I'm the opposite of this. So you have to demonstrate, not beyond a reasonable doubt, it's not a criminal thing, it's a civil thing. But you need proof that Lizzo or her dance captain, is it really about the dance captain and not Lizzo, and you're throwing Lizzo in there because she's the big name and that's why you get a settlement?
Well, no, I think Lizzo is one of the people that absolutely fostered this sexual harassment environment where this stuff can happen. Now, we're not saying Lizzo touched anybody. We're not saying Lizzo accosted anyone sexually. What we're saying is she allowed this environment to exist. There's already been audio and video of her wanting to go to this banana bar. Her own statement today, what does it talk about? Does it talk about empathy for the clients? No, it talks about, well, you know what? I'm a very sexual person. I'm very open about that. Basically saying, if you want to be around me, you have to deal with it. But you're not supposed to deal with it in a workplace. That's the problem.
There is video that TMZ put out today that came after the allegations of one of your clients saying something different about Lizzo. Here's a taste.
I've been working with Lizzo for some months, maybe close to a year now, and it's been so amazing and such a beautiful journey. I look up to her so much.
You would think the Cuomo boy would know a little something about this, considering his own brother.
Doesn't seem harassed.
So we should give context to that. That was done before most of the allegations that are in the complaint. It was between the European tour and there was a break, and that was during that break. So listen, all around the country, there's a bunch of young people who don't like their bosses, and they're not going to burn bridges. And it happens a lot more in the entertainment industry. Also, that was an audition tape to try to get on the second season of the show on Amazon. But again, the timing of that is not, nothing happened that is in the complaint before that video was done. Where she was put in a situation where she had to pee on herself, where her phone was taken, where she had to admit that she had to be had mental disability, eating disorder. She was called out for fat shaming. That all happened after this video.
And I guess that the ultimate question is going to be, well, maybe it was the production company, maybe it was the dance captain, but how do you link Lizzo to it, especially if the central allegation is Lizzo knew that women who represent exactly what her brand is, that you don't judge big women as if big must be bad, and you don't judge people on the basis of how they decide to be, that she went against all that and wanted them treated exactly the way she says she doesn't want anybody treated. How do you show that?
It's not simple. And listen, when these ladies came to me, I had my own suspicions because of the huge brand that Lizzo is. But after spending time with them laying out how sincere they were, I believed them. And now that that this is out, the cat's out of the bag, people are coming forward and going, you know what? I went through that. People they have no financial benefit to come forward on social media. The former creative director, another dancer, and there's people calling my office that used to work with Lizzo going, you know what? Behind closed doors, this is the way Lizzo is.
Parents, start a path of success for your 3 or 4-year-old child today with pre-K at Dallas ISD. Dallas ISD offers free, scholarship, and tuition-based pre-K. For information and registration, visit your local elementary school or pre-K partner site. Call the pre-K hotline at 214-932-7735 or visit www.prek.com.
So, there you have it. Hold on. Why is this ad still going on? Okay, sorry about the ad. But, there you have it from, the lawyer. And, he makes a lot of good points. And, one of the points that he makes that I really agree with him on is like, this is who, in her statement, and we covered it in part 1, in her statement, there's no, like he said, in her own statement, there's no, acknowledgement of these former dancers. It's just, I'm a sexual being, this is who I am. And there we go. And look, right here, I have it for you right now. You have, Was Jay-Z's Made in America festival canceled because of Lizzo? I read that and I was like, it said that there was technical issues, but I mean, come on now, this is Jay-Z. You have 6 more people, facing fresh allegations from at least 6 more people. And then here you have Lizzo denies split from her boyfriend, Mike Wright. So, I mean, it's all kind of like, I don't know when this is from, but like my whole point that I'm making here is, oh Lord, did not mean to do that. Because we're not going to go down this rabbit hole of Lizzo's relationship problems. As I don't feel like doing that. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. I just gotta fix this real quick. But one thing that I like, as he was saying, like, this is her brand. This is who she is. And even in her apology, there's no acknowledgement. Just, I'm a sexual being, and it's like, that's fine, but you're gonna have to deal with the consequences of this. And she has even acknowledged, like, she doesn't even acknowledge these other dancers. She just acknowledges, this is who I am. And that's fine, but these are the consequences that are going to come from you behaving in such a manner. Is now that the whole narrative behind this whole body positivity. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is the whole narrative of body positivity essentially collapsing in real time with Lizzo. And that was her brand. That's the brand that she made herself. So for us to be like, to pretend as if that's not the case, is foolish. And I found it funny that, with the Cuomo boy over there trying to insinuate that these girls are like trying to make it up, and like, I don't really think that's the case. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to create a new one. These women don't have a reason to lie. And think about it this way, right? Think about the fact that they are just now coming forward. And I think part of the reason why is because, we have to think about the fact that Lizzo pretty much ran a tight ship. And it's clear that as the lawyer said, in the entertainment world, you don't want to lose opportunities. You don't want to be blacklisted. I mean, look what's going on with Disney and Marvel, and the way they were blacklisting CGI and VFX artists. So you have this in the entertainment world. They will blacklist you, and then that's it for your career. That's it for your any chances of you succeeding. And I feel that is what Lizzo essentially would do. Because at the same time, like I said, I don't know of any other, touring, mainstream artists that are employing, bigger women. I don't know of any. But this is, this just adds to the situation that this whole body positivity movement, it's over with. I think this is it. It peaked with Lizzo, and Lizzo being who she is, we now know this is who she is. It's now falling. The narrative is collapsing. All right. As Lizzo is removed from the potential lineup at this year's Super Bowl, which is taking place in Las Vegas in February 2024, her team is facing a desperate struggle to salvage her career and reputation. A second source claims to the singer tells DailyMail.com that her team is desperately trying to, save a sinking ship. It is becoming more and more difficult with more people coming forth accusing her of extremely inappropriate acts. The music industry confidant tells DailyMail.com. Lizzo has ranked in a massive amount of money, but her minute is pretty much up, and it seems no one knows if she'll be able to recover from this. If she speaks out, her statements are shredded. If she stays quiet, she is called a coward. Either way, it does not appear at this moment that she can recover from this, the source says. Yeah, of course she can't recover from this. I mean, this really is a wrap for her career. Tim Dillon joked that, she should go away, lose all of her weight, pull a Adele, and come back looking like a whole different person. But even then, her legacy is tarnished. Her legacy now, she will be known as the body positivity singer who was sexually harassing and fat shaming her body positivity dancers. I mean, this is the one thing I think a lot of people, should kind of take into consideration for themselves. And with a lot of these performers and artists is that they get so hung up in their egos, their narcissism, their power, that they completely forget about what their legacy is going to be, what they'll be known for, what they'll be known about. And, Lizzo will now be known as, a fat shamer, as an abuser, as a bully. Earlier this week, attorney representing 3 of Lizzo's former backup dancers who filed a lawsuit over claims of weight shaming and sexual harassment at work revealed that they now have 6 other people who have submitted complaints along similar lines. Ron Zambrano, a lawyer whose practice specializes in employment law and is representing backup dancers Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noel Rodriguez, said his firm is now looking into these claims. Zambrano told NBC News the 6 new accusers toured with Lizzo either as backup dancers or on her Amazon Studios show, describing the complaints as centering around an alleged sexually charged environment on Lizzo's tour and failure to pay employees. It comes after dancer Davis, Williams, and Rodriguez sat down for an interview with Good Morning America last week in which they branded a 35-year-old pop star fatphobic and shared sordid stories from their time touring with their former employee. I know it's alarming to hear that Lizzo, a plus-size woman who preaches body positivity, would be fatphobic essentially. But I want to challenge people to understand that hurt people, Davis said. And I would agree with that. So let's hear what the ladies have to say. And this is this is something that's far too common, of people who use their own insecurities and will lash out at people who have clear similar insecurities. It's a bullying technique, it's a control technique. And oh, we can't hear them. Alrighty, hold on. Okay. For some reason, audio's not coming through, but that's fine. We'll just read the bottom part. All right. Rodriguez, meanwhile, recounted the moment Lizzo allegedly threatened her after she told her she wanted to resign because she felt unsafe and disrespected. She basically started to ball up her fists and crack her knuckles, and she was like, "You're effing lucky right now." Rodriguez then claimed Lizzo's best friend jumped off the couch and had to physically restrain her. Also, Davis teared up while describing the incident when Lizzo allegedly pressured her into touching a nude performer at a sex show in Amsterdam. She started a chant after I said no multiple times, Davis said, explaining how Lizzo began to chant her name, Ari. I briefly touched the performer and withdrew my hands. And everyone kind of burst into laughter because me of all people, they thought it was funny that I was touching this performer. The dancers also claimed they felt like their job was always on the line. Our jobs are always being threatened. I personally never had job security in this whole entire time, Davis said. She and Williams are fired, while Rodriguez resigned in what she claims was a response to the pair's alleged treatment. In their lawsuit, Davis, Williams, Rodriguez accused the Grammy-winning singer, as well as the Big Girl touring and dance team captain Shirley Quigley, of creating a sexually charged and uncomfortable work environment. Okay, yeah. And the trio claimed when they were touring in Amsterdam, they said in their filing, things quickly got out of hand. Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas. So I'm gonna, there we go. The dancers alleged Lizzo pressured and goaded Ariana into touching one of the nude performers. I know that they were also, her dance captain was like harassing a woman who was a virgin on the team. But she was really religious, really weird stuff. Since the lawsuit has filed, she has lost 120,000 followers. Hours after the lawsuit was made public, Lizzo's former creative director, Quinn Whitney Wilson, and dancer Courtney Holoquest claimed they experienced similar mistreatment. Catch out part 1. This is Lizzo's statement. So like, she has, with passion comes hard work and high standards. I mean, as we know with a lot of these artists and these kind of statements, it's it's PR. It's not genuine. I'm just gonna skim through. All right, here we go. In their Good Morning America interview, the dancers addressed Lizzo's response, with Davis stating the post felt like a punch. Williams expressed disappointment that Lizzo did not provide acknowledgement of our feelings when her brand is to preach about women empowerment. I'm honestly mind blown at the hypocrisy just of everything that you stand for. You're contradicting right before our very eyes, she said. Rodriguez added, for the many women that have, because it's mainly women that have come forward and said they felt the same or have shared their stories with us because they don't want to publicly share it yet, it completely kind of invalidates all of our experiences and our trauma and our pain. And yeah. So, her being dropped from the her being dropped from the halftime show. Yeah. I was just going to double check, see if I can get it to work, but it's not going to work. Anyways, so, pretty much like, I think, with, the halftime show pretty much, removing her from contestants, what's next? What are the brands that she's been a part of are going to drop her? That's what's going to be the next thing. And the reason why I was saying that this was a big nail in the coffin for her is because with her, losing the opportunity to either perform the national anthem or to be a performer at the halftime show, that's a very big American event. And that's an event that has a lot of marketing, a lot of ads, a lot of brands, and look what's happening with Bud Light. Look what's going on right now with Best Buy and their practices of essentially blatantly discriminating and refusing to hire white people, especially white males, refusing to allow their Christian employees to wear any of their crosses, and forcing them to go into re-education programs. So, you look at what's going on with Bud Light, you look what is about to happen with, or even Target, look what happened with Target. Look what's about to happen with Best Buy. A lot of these brands getting themselves involved into these socialist Marxist ideologies and implements of control. You're seeing the consequences of that as many Americans begin to kind of wake up to the situation. You look at what's going on with Disney. All of these corporations, many of them are now their need for the ESG funding and the DEI. It is now causing them revenue, because they were so concerned with meeting these Marxist standards for their corporations that they completely forgot about making money. And that's why you're seeing the consequences right now. I see we got some people in the live stream. Please hit that like button. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Please also leave a comment. What are your thoughts on this whole situation with Lizzo? But like I was saying, and right now, a lot of these brands, these corporations, they know that if one whiff of trouble with any of their brand ambassadors, they drop them. And some of them, they're doubling down, and that double down is costing them even more money. And a lot of these corporations are now, being run by ideologues and not being run by, businessmen and women who want profits. And the shareholders are now feeling the brunt of these ESG rules and this DEI implementations for employment. And I highly recommend anyone out there look into what's going on right now with Best Buy. James O'Keefe, he broke the story. It's horrendous what Best Buy is doing right now. And this is something that adds on to this whole situation. This with Lizzo is because she advocates for such an unhealthy lifestyle and mindset, you're now having brands having to reevaluate whether or not, hey, was this a good idea? Are we going to get canceled for this? Think about that. Any brand, if they're smart, they would remove and cut off from Lizzo immediately, because if they don't, they might end up seeing themselves being what's the word I'm looking for? Being canceled. Because that is what's going on right now. Tensions are really high in the country when it comes to the way they are marketing towards children, towards adults, what they are marketing, what they are implementing, their hiring practices. So, I really recommend people, look up, ESG, environmental governance, environmental social governance. Look up DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. Look up these things. Look up BlackRock. Look up Vanguard. Look up these hedge funds that are pushing these types of ideologies and rules and parameters. And if you don't think that Lizzo is no stranger to it, I mean, look at what's going on with her career right now. So I think everyone out there should really just take some time and do some research onto this stuff. And while you're at it, make sure you're taking care of your health. Make sure you're exercising regularly. Make sure you're stretching regularly. Make sure you're drinking water regularly. Make sure you're eating a healthy, balanced diet, and add some intermittent fasting in there to really improve yourself. So, those are things, I personally would recommend. I'm no health expert, but those are things that I do myself. So, this whole situation with Lizzo, I hope is for anyone out there who's struggling with their weight or struggling with believing in their celebrities or their heroes or what have you. Look up to yourself first. Be your own hero, and then use those that you look up to as a guidance, not as a way of living. And just be mindful of that. And I think for anyone out there, you'll feel more better about yourself. You'll feel more willing to, humor different ideas and be willing to be more open with perspectives, and you'll be better for yourself. And that's the whole point. And if only, we had celebrities out there promoting that, who advocate for that, and we really don't. David Goggins, but he's not a celebrity in that sense. But there are people out there that you can look up to who do advocate for a good, healthy lifestyle and a good mental lifestyle. You gotta look for them. And first, it starts with you, because you're your best own motivator, and you're your best enemy. You're your worst enemy, and you're your best friend. So people out there, just take some time, really think about that. Think about your health. Think about what type of longevity you wish for your livelihood, for your mentality, and who you wish to use as a guide for that mentality and livelihood. And you'll be better for it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. If you made it this far, please make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe and ring that notification bell. And please leave some comments with your thoughts below and sprinkle in some constructive criticism, as that will truly help me and the channel grow and improve. So, until next time, stay positive,